Sober thoughts on a Monday, 24 hours removed from the Titans game. Justin and I are going to go through our thoughts in a more level-headed manner today. Brian Callahan spoke. We're going to react to some of his comments. What was up with the Alec Iamaner elbow in, out, catch, no catch. We're going to go through that. L'Jarius Sneed, what's up with him? And I have a positive spin on everything that happened on Sunday for the Titans, which, yeah, that's, I guess, what I do. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. Justin, do you feel any different sitting here on Monday afternoon than you did on Sunday evening after watching the Titans struggle to score 12 points?
No, I don't actually. I don't think I feel much differently at all. I think everything I said during the live stream still stands roughly 16, 17 hours later, whatever. Maybe not even, but yeah, about 16, 17 hours later since the live stream ended. I feel pretty much in tune with everything that I said, following Sunday's loss.
I do not. I have had a change of heart, and I was obviously, we both were, I think justifiably very harsh on Brian Callahan and the execution by the Titans players in Sunday's game, basically outside of Cam Ward, who did make, his fair share of rookie mistakes as well. We're not going to pretend like he was perfect in this game. I mean, he was, 14 of 30 passing or something like that?
28.
Yeah, there you go. 13 of 28, something like that. And we talked about, this is funny, we talked on the preview show about Caleb Williams' debut against the Titans last year, going 14 of 29 for 93 yards, and talking about how there's no way Cam Ward's going to be that bad. I mean, we didn't say that, but it was sort of like implied with how we were talking. And then he ends up with a pretty similar stat line, a few more passing yards, no touchdowns. But I want to talk about my positive spin, my change of heart, where I'm coming from after we get through our reaction to Brian Callahan's comments. And before we get into those, I just want to shout out all of our listeners. Thank you, everyone. You have helped us achieve a goal that, I'm not going to lie, 48 hours ago I thought was impossible. We were like 150 subscribers away from our 4,750 goal that we were trying to reach by the end of week one, which I would qualify as tomorrow. Like, there's still a week one game tonight, guys, Monday Night Football. So the fact that you guys pushed us over the edge, the live stream, the viewers of the live stream really came through, over 40 subs just from that video alone. So shout out to all of you guys for pushing us over our goal. We really appreciate it. But you know what happens, Justin, when you reach a goal? You got to set a new goal. So 4750 is great, but you know what's way better and cleaner and nice and just looks really, really cool on our page would be 5,000. Can we get to 5,000? How long will it take us to get to 5,000? I'm challenging you, the audience, to get us to 5,000 by the end of week 2. Wow. That's an impossible goal. Absolutely impossible. But let's see what happens in the next week. We really appreciate it if you guys can help get us over the edge. Justin, Brian Callahan said some interesting stuff on Monday. And you know what? I actually liked how he opened the press conference. And I've always liked this about Brian Callahan, is that there are times it feels like he's refreshingly honest. Now, there are more times than there were a year ago where he is not saying anything. He is speaking a bunch of words that actually don't mean anything. It's just coach speak, just airtime, give the reporter who asked a question a quote. But he still gives us the honesty every now and then. And he opens this press conference with a pretty long little intro about the game and things that he liked and things that he didn't like and where they need to improve. And then he gets into, he's like, I know you guys all want to ask me about the Alec Iamaner catch. Was he in bounds? Was he out of bounds? And my comments on, one elbow does not equal 2 feet. And he said that he didn't understand the rule. He has a clearer interpretation of it today. He said, that's on me. I should have challenged it. I will own that one. I will hold myself accountable. That is my fault. I should have challenged that play. It probably would have been a big explosive. And I'm like, all right. I don't love that the head coach of my favorite team didn't know that rule in the moment, but I'm willing to accept this as growth and ownership of a mistake and accountability and all the things he's preaching to his players. He needs to exemplify himself, and he did it in this moment. And then 2 minutes later, there's follow-up questions, and he reverses course. He says, I misspoke, but I know the rule. I know the rules of the NFL. Trust me. It's like, yeah, we should trust that you do, but then on Sunday, you didn't show that you did. And by the way, lost in this whole conversation about the Alec Iamaner elbow 2 feet thing is the fact that earlier in the press conference on Sunday, Brian Callahan said that he wasn't aware that the offensive line just had to move when a defender crossed into the neutral zone for it to be a neutral zone infraction. He said, I thought the offensive line had to reach out and touch the defender. Like, really? Where have you been since this rule was put in place like 15 years ago? So that's just another example of Brian Callahan admitting to not knowing the rules, which again, he did on Monday, but then followed up by saying he did know the rules. Like, the contradiction has my head spinning. Justin, what was your takeaway from that comment?
Yeah, I was really disappointed with how it ended. Just like you said, I thought he got up there and initially said what he had no choice to say. Like, he was too clear during Sunday's post-game presser. He literally said 1 elbow does not equal 2 feet. Like, that's like he said it so clearly that I thought he had no choice but to own it. To me, there's no walking it back. As badly as you'd probably like to lie, and you don't want to look like a buffoon, it was, you just had to admit it, right? It was too clear on Sunday. So I didn't understand the walk back. Like, I know the rules of this game. It was almost a little bit smug, right? Like, I know the rules of this game pretty well, I think was how he ended it. Something along those lines. Like, it sounded like he got up there ready to own it and then reversed course out of nowhere. I didn't get that part of it at all. I'm almost choosing to wipe it from memory because I'm like, you said what you were supposed to say. Like, I messed up. I owned it. I didn't know. And then as they keep pushing you and pushing you and pushing you, he gets into the, well, I know the rules, I misspoke kind of thing. And I thought that was brutal. And to me, someone asked the follow-up question. He was not going to give that away because he's going to protect his assistants, if you will, employees. The head coach, he feels like they're his employees. Whoever's in his ear, they got to be like, you're in my ear to be able to tell me, hey, 1 elbow equals 2 feet. Let's challenge this, right? Like, what role do you have if it's not to know that rule book inside out when you're in the ear of the head coach debating whether or not to challenge a play? Like, you've got to know that stuff, and you've got to tell them, we've got to challenge this play. So to me, disappointing on Callahan, disappointing on whoever's in his ear. Rob, I think Paul Kaharski called him, like, just failure, epic failure all the way around.
Rob Reederer, something like that. Yeah, just a failure by the whole coaching staff. And I don't want to harp too much on it because we spent a lot of time on it yesterday, and it's been the massive talking point in Titans media and on Twitter by Titans fans since the game ended. But there's a lot of stuff that happened in this game beyond one missed opportunity to challenge a play. So let's move on and talk about some other stuff. He mentioned L'Jarius Sneed here because he was also asked, what's up with the L'Jarius Sneed pitch count? I think the question was framed like, what's the point of, what are you saving him for? What's the point of saving him? Callahan was like, well, we're not saving him. We're trying to do what's best for the player to get him back to, he hasn't played football in like 14 months or something, not 14, but whatever, since like October. Yeah, since October of last year. So yeah, 11 months. Like, we're not trying to rush him back. It is odd that L'Jarius Sneed played the first defensive series, and then I don't believe he saw the field again when Callahan.
I think they had him at 19 defensive snaps.
Okay.
What I saw. So it was the whole. He played like portions of the first half. So yeah. I'll just interject if you don't mind at this point. Like, what I don't like, I think Easton tweeted it, and I share the exact same feelings. Like, I thought the answer that he gave on Sneed was good in terms of we monitor the GPS and the sports science, and we make a collective decision. The training room. He said, Mike, I assume, of course, referring to Mike Borgonzi, like all of us came to a collective decision. I have no problem with the decision-making process. What I have a problem with is, why does he go into the game with a certain snap allowance and you burn through all of it in the first half? That's what I found really weird. Like, he said in Sunday during the post-game presser, I think he said 20 to 25 snaps is kind of where we were at. So he played 19 snaps. So he's right around that, bottom end of that number 20. I don't have a problem with that. Why did you use them all during the first half? Most of it used during the first portion of the first half. He wasn't on the field after that punt. Like, you've got 50 seconds left in the half. You punt that ball away to Denver. They make it explosive. He can't be lined up on Courtland Sutton for that snap. Courtland Sutton ends up scoring a touchdown. You're about to go into halftime. You didn't even plan on playing him in the second half, it looked like, at that point. So for me, I think the snap count, the sports science, the monitoring, all that stuff tracks for me. But if I'm going into this game and I think he's giving me 20 snaps, maybe I'm trying to get 10 in the first half, 10 in the second. This was a close game pretty much all the way through. Why did I burn through the allowance in the first half? That's the line of thinking that I don't understand at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's just, to me, this isn't a big deal to harp on, and I understand if you feel different, if anyone out there feels different. To me, it's like the Darrell Baker played fine, even on Cortland Sutton's touchdown. It's not like he got burned. He was right there. He just didn't make a play on the ball. And would L'Jarius Sneed have made a play on the ball? Would L'Jarius Sneed have got burned there? We haven't seen good L'Jarius Sneed in a long time.
I'll say this, though. You know what? Go back. I employ anyone. Watch the 19 snaps. I don't know if this is a positive or a negative. I'm kind of pushing back on you, but it's also a positive. Like, I thought he looked pretty good. Like, I thought he played all right. Like, he was there. He played well in those 19 snaps. I mean, all things considered, low expectations, blah, 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 blah. I thought this was a good first game for L'Jarius Sneed, and I hope he could handle more on Sunday against the Rams. I'm sure we'll talk about that later this week when we get into the preview portions of our week, but I thought he played well, all things considered. And I wish I got to find out if he would have gotten burned or came up with a pass breakup on that snap, because for me, that's if I'm saving him, those are the situations I'm saving him for. Red zone, number one, or red zone-ish, number one receiver on the other side, 50 seconds left in the half, not even less than that, right? Like 30 seconds left in the half when they threw that touchdown. So for me, that's the situation I'm saving him for.
Yeah, no, and that makes perfect sense. I agree with you on that. I think there was more egregious things that Callahan is guilty of in this game, which is why I don't particularly care. But yeah, it makes sense. I mean, he should have been playing on the high leverage plays because he's your best cornerback, theoretically, and he wasn't. So it's just an odd personnel decision by the Titans coaching staff there. The last thing that Callahan talked about that I'm interested in commenting on is JC Latham, and this is a quick one. We don't really have an update on JC Latham. He said it was an aggravation of what he's been dealing with when he missed that week of practice between end of preseason and first game week practice, that dead period. When Latham missed that time, Callahan said this was an aggravation of that, and we'll see where he's at on Wednesday. So we don't have any info. We'll have to wait for the Wednesday injury report. I'd kind of expect Latham to be did not practice, or at the very most a limited participant in practice, but fingers crossed that he's okay and he'll be able to make it back for Sunday's game against the Rams, because when Oli Udoh came into the game, that was it. It was over. I mean, the Titans couldn't do anything. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't protect. It was the end of the game when they lost JC Latham. He might be the most important player outside of Cam Ward on this team. They need him back on Sunday if they want a chance.
It's kind of crazy that they had so many guys in training camp battling for that OT3 job, and they could end up with a guy who looked as bad as Oli Udoh looked on the snaps, right? Like, maybe, I mean, they don't like Jalen Duncan's personality. I get that. Maybe Jalen Duncan would have been better in that situation. Maybe John Njoku should be on the 53 or should have been. I don't know, but it's crazy how many guys they had competing for that spot. And tackle depth's a pretty big issue around the league, but considering they had like 4 guys legitimately competing for that spot, and 3 of them made the initial roster, Njoku and Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon included, they end up with Oli Udoh, who just looked awful on his small percentage of snaps.
All right, Justin, it's time for me to spin this thing positive. Real quick, a word from Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. They have a super knowledgeable staff. You go into Sinkers Beverages, you're throwing a party, you have an idea for a drink you want to make. You talk to the staff at Sinkers Beverages, and they will point you in the right direction for every ingredient you need to make the perfect drink. They're on Uber Eats, so if you don't have time to get to the store to ask the knowledgeable staff questions, you can just scroll through and browse through on Uber Eats and have everything delivered right to your front door. If you go to their website or check the link in the description, you can join the In Crowd. Sinkers In Crowd is free to join, and members have allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. So check it out, sinkersbeverages.com.
I never say anything about Sinkers. You always say it all, but remember, ladies and gentlemen, nothing else says I need a drinks, plural, from Sinkers Beverages, like watching Tennessee Titans play football, right? You know where I was going with this, but nothing says I need a drink like this. I'm going to pour one up on the live stream next Sunday. I guarantee it.
Well, let's see. It'll either be a celebratory drink or a misery drink, Justin, but one way or the other, you can have that drink next week. Okay, I'm going to spin this positive. This is here's what happened, Justin. So we came out of yesterday's game. Super frustrating game. Like, horribly frustrating game to watch. Nobody's helping Cam Ward out. I'm working on something right now, actually, that should be out on Twitter later today or tomorrow. It's basically just a compilation of all the times that Brian Callahan or Cam Ward's teammates failed him, failed to execute, failed with a play call, with the management. I got a lot of plays here that I'm going to just sort of talk through. I don't know, maybe 5-10 minute video. I don't know if it's good for YouTube because it's like literally just all broadcast footage and it's going to get copyright flagged. Maybe I'll throw it on YouTube, TBD. We'll see what happens. But so I was very frustrated with how much everyone around Cam Ward failed him. I was also frustrated on those few Cam Ward plays where, he's drifting backwards 20 yards, takes a 16-yard loss on 2nd and 8 from the 22-yard line, Denver 22-yard line. Bad play by Cam Ward. I will also say there's not a lot he can do on a play like that. Instant pressure. He either takes the late career Peyton Manning dive and loses 7 yards anyway, or he tries to make something happen. And a lot of the time, he's gonna make a big play. He's gonna get away from that rusher and make something special happen. Occasionally, yes, he is gonna get dragged down for a sack. It happens to the most elusive quarterbacks. I saw Lamar Jackson last night on Sunday Night Football in a similar situation, get dragged down for a sack. And then later in the game, he escapes almost the same type of play and makes a big play happen, run like 90 yards for a 16-yard gain or something like that on Sunday Night Football. So, yeah, sometimes Cam Ward is going to take a bad sack. But if the net result, the net outcome is most of the time he's going to evade that guy and make a big play happen, I'm okay with him trying. If he had thrown it away in that situation, it's a grounding penalty. It's the same thing as a sack. So, yeah, Cam Ward made a few mistakes that were frustrating, but overall, I thought he played really well. I thought he was very let down by his teammates. I thought Brian Callahan did not look like a competent NFL head coach, and I was very frustrated. Then we record Heed the Call. We talk through all the games of the weekend. I edit this show till 3 o'clock in the morning last night, Central Time. I go outside on my patio afterwards and just puff my medicine and relax a bit, lay down in bed, finally get to watch the Titans press conference. And as I'm watching the Titans press conference, it dawns on me. This is what they needed. Last season, they were horribly undisciplined. A lot of it was turnovers, but yes, penalties were a major problem last season. They preach it all off season. We cannot beat ourselves. We cannot beat ourselves. Sins, self-inflicted negatives. They come out week 1, and what do? Consistently beat themselves 2 yards shy, 2 penalty yards shy of matching their total offensive yardage output in this game. And that's when it hit me, Justin. This is what they needed. It's one thing to preach it all off season. It's another thing to live it, to experience it, to be brought back into the darkness and to be surrounded by it and realize you do not want to be in the darkness. Jeffrey Simmons, one of your leaders, commits 2 bad penalties, jumping off signs, giving up a free first down, pushing a running back that Cody Barton had wrapped up with the whistle blowing well after the play ends, gives Denver a free first down when Tennessee could have used that extra time for their final attempt at a game-tying drive. Jeffrey Simmons owns it in the locker room afterward. He said he was pissed off at himself for those 2 penalties. He said he should know better. He does know better, and he's going to get it cleaned up. And that's what I mean by they needed this. They needed the wake-up call that preaching it all offseason is not enough. We have to go live it. And if we don't go live it, we can turn the ball over 6 times or take the ball away 6 times, including the 2 failed 4th down conversions. And it doesn't matter if we continue to beat ourselves. So we all want to overreact to week 1. It's very normal. It's very natural. This was a sloppy game by the Titans. But for whatever reason, I feel like it could ultimately be a positive thing because now they've been through the worst. They've played their worst, and they know how important it is to not do this again. And obviously they knew the importance of it, but again, it's another thing to live the importance of it.
They lived it all of last year. I mean, they were 3-14. I know a lot of roster turnover.
50% roster turnover. So only half these guys lived it last year, and a lot of those guys are backups. So
coaching staff.
I understand what your pushback is, and it makes sense, and a lot of people are going to agree with you, but we have to give them more than 1 game. We just have, before we form any kind of evaluation, we have to give them more than 1 game, and we see this every year around the league. A team looks incredibly sloppy in week 1 and then ends up being a good team the rest of the season, or a team looks incredibly bad in week 1. Sorry. That's the same thing. Or a team looks incredibly impressive in week 1, like the New Orleans Saints last year, and it lasts all of 2 weeks before they turn into one of the worst teams in the league. So I am not panicking yet. I will say there is a lot more pressure on Brian Callahan not to hand games away for the rest of the season than there would have been if they had just played a clean game on Sunday. Like I think somebody said this on Twitter. I forgive the person who said it because I don't remember who it was. That like we went into this season thinking we have this season to evaluate Brian Callahan. And after Sunday, it feels like he's being evaluated on a game-by-game basis because of how bad it was. But I still think we need to take the long view and give him a full season of evaluation. And that is my positive spin, is that the Titans will learn from this and be better. And maybe they won't be, but for now, I can say that they will be because it's just Monday of a new game week.
Well, I mean, they better be. And I'm not calling, it's week one. Like, I'm not calling for anyone's job or anything, but
people are.
I mean, that's fans do that, right? Like they get mad. You sent me a tweet. Someone said fire John Harbaugh. Like there's a Baltimore Raven fan calling for John Harbaugh's job after week one. So it's like that's just the way it goes a lot of times, right? But that's fans. They've got the right to do that. But for me, I mean, I'd like to give him the whole year, but not if it doesn't get better. Like I saw someone else on Twitter. Forgive me, it's the theme of the show. Said that he was like the Will Levis of last year in this game. And that's kind of fair, right? Like he really did feel like he gave away this game multiple times. Like what I keep coming back to, and I was going to save this point to the end, but what I can't stop thinking about, and that's really irking me and bothering me, is the end of first half sequence was so disastrous for Brian Callahan. The non-challenge and not understanding the rule for Alec Iomanner was so disastrous for Brian Callahan. To have both of those gaffes happen in the same game is truly unbelievable. In all honesty, it's truly, truly unbelievable. It's the Will Levis Chicago Bears pick six twice in the same game, right? It's the rolling the fumble against the Jets the following week. Like it's like to have that happen in the same game to me is so bad, and I'd like for him to get the full year, but and look, those two mistakes they were such extremes that you don't expect them to happen again and again. But he only gets the full year if that stuff goes away. It can't keep happening, right? Like Will Levis didn't get a full year. They go to Mason Rudolph. Let me be clear, rightfully so. Will Levis didn't deserve the full year. Brian Callahan won't deserve the full year if this shit keeps happening. I think it's that simple. And they desperately want continuity. They want him to be good. They want to keep him, but you can't manifest it. Your wants and hopes and dreams don't always come to fruition, right? So they've got to keep evaluating him. Everything you said, a little too positive for my liking, but they've got week 2 and the rest of the year. But no one's going to get fired after week 2 either, but it can't look the same in week 2, right? Like you can't have 10 penalties for 100 yards against the Rams. You can't have coaching gaffes, and everyone has play calling gaffes occasionally. I'm the biggest forgiver of play calling that exists. I always say, bad execution often gets, called bad play calling, right? Like I always say that. No, some of the play calling in this one was so egregiously bad that it was bad play calling. And in fact, during the press conference, I didn't I think Paul Koharski asked about the 2 sacks, and he said there were answers on both of them. He essentially said, you heard the same thing I did. I mean, the first one debatable, because I saw a screenshot of it. I did think he could have maybe hit, I think it was Tony Pollard in the flat. He's got to hit the check down a little quicker on the first sack, in my opinion. The second one, absolutely no excuse for. Terrible play call, terrible design, not having an outlet, not having a 6-7 yard crosser on 3rd and 24 when you're just trying to kick a field goal. Just that one for me was... That one paired with the sequence at the end of the first half was just an unbelievable sequence of horrid play calling.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not trying to excuse anything that happened on Sunday. Like, it was all bad, and there is no excuse for it, and there's no explanation for it. But I don't think it's an indication of who this Titans team necessarily is going to be. It
I hope
might
not.
be. It might be. Last year, this is who they were.
And
But
it was
it's week.
carryover from that. That's what's concerning.
But it's week 1, and it's sort of their chance to be like, holy shit, guys, this is everything we said we weren't going to be. Are we going to be this, or are we not going to be this? It's put up or shut up. We got to look inward, look in the mirror, and look at each other and say, this is not the team we want to be. And this is their chance to do that. And sometimes it takes experiencing it again after an offseason that probably inflated their egos a bit in terms of how disciplined and good and improved they were in this category. To see it happen on the field is now that catalyst that's like, okay, because these are human beings at the end of the day. They're human beings. They have emotions, and they're not necessarily just robots that go play football. So that's, and look, I know I feel like it sounds like I'm probably being overly optimistic about this. I am equally expecting that this team is just bad this year and ending up with a top 3 pick. I think that's well within the cards. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen because of what happened on Sunday. I'm just saying there are 2 ways to look at this, and there are 2 paths. This is the crossroads moment. They can either go down the path of we are going to be bad and we are going to be undisciplined, and this is going to keep happening to us, and we're going to keep coming up to the podium and the reporters after the games and saying we need to be better and this isn't who we want to be, but they still are that. Or they can change, and Cam Ward can be the catalyst that they rally around, and Brian Callahan's got to be better. The other thing I'll say on the positive spin angle, Justin, is that you look at Cam Ward's box score and you're like, oh, woof, that is not good. Obviously, the tape is better than what the box score would lead you to believe. But then you go back and you look at Marcus Mariota's debut box score, and you go look at Will Levis's debut box score. And we all said, as a joke, but Titans fans everywhere were saying, we don't want Cam Ward to come out and throw for 4 touchdowns with an 80% completion percentage. We want this thing to look messy because we've seen what happens when it doesn't. So that's the ultimate spin job I think I could put on this, is that Cam Ward having a bad stat line is actually good because it means he's not on the Will Levis, Marcus Mariota path. But that one is definitely more me being goofy than an actual analysis.
I'll continue to say, like, as I went back and I did watch a lot of tape, and I have no issue with how Cam Ward played. I felt the same way about it after reviewing it that I did live. I thought Cam Ward played a good game.
I felt better about it.
Pretty damn good game. And was just kind of let down. What I saw in real time is what happened, right? Like offensive line drops, penalties, all that stuff for me. Is what plagued Cam Ward in this game. I feel great about how Cam Ward played.
Yeah, the penalties really just need to be cleaned up.
I think we're getting close to the end of this podcast.
Yes.
I'll just say, I guess why I'm more concerned than you are, or whatever, is the sloppiness and the unpreparedness of it just looked so similar to last year, and I'm concerned that it's a trait of the head coach, right? But I mean, they got an opportunity. They got 16 more opportunities, right? So, but it's got to start immediately. They got a good football team that they're going to go play later this week, on Sunday, of course. And if it's anything like it was on Sunday, it'll be uglier than 20-12.
There could be elements that look like this past week, because this is another very good offensive line. If J.C. Latham's not full strength,
good defensive line, you mean? Yeah, but yeah.
Yes, this is a very good that's what I meant. Yes, this is a very good defensive line, and if J.C. Latham's not out there, or if he's not at full strength, things could be bad. But I will also say their offense did not look particularly impressive against Houston either. Now, Houston has a very good defense, so maybe it was just that. But it could be another rock fight type game like what we just witnessed, and it wouldn't shock me if it was a very similar game script, hopefully with less self-inflicted negatives.
Maybe we could save this for tomorrow. I don't know, but between the live stream and today, we haven't really talked about the defense at all. And they were so much better than I thought they were going to be, right? Like, we had such low expectations for them. Offense did them no favors, 12 points, 130 yards, a fumble, like they've turned over the ball. And not a lot of pressure, to be honest with you. Not a lot of pressure from the pass rush. But I thought, linebackers played pretty well. I thought secondary was pretty damn good. I thought Denard Wilson called a phenomenal game defensively. I thought they were, they gave up that big run, but I thought they were pretty good in the run game, stopped a lot of stuff at the line of scrimmage. Jahad Ward was good in the run game. Blake Lynch was good in the run game. Tavondre Sweat, who was also on a snap count, had the big 4th down stop or helped create the fourth downs up. Jeffrey Simmons had the 2 mistakes, but he was by far their best defensive lineman. A ton of pressure on Bo Nix pretty consistently. I think he had 4 pressures. Rest of the D-line combined for 4. Femi Oladejo had 2, I would call them schemed up pressures. He got into the backfield quickly. You'd love to see him clean one of those up with a would-be sack. I thought the defense played when you look at the context of the offense and how awful they were and mistakes and all that, I thought the defense played a phenomenal game. I mean, 2 interceptions, created a bunch of turnovers, really good game by Denard Wilson. Arden Key said during the locker room, we've got to score more points. Like, not that often you get that blatant in week 1 about the other unit, but it was warranted.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm glad you brought that up because we hadn't talked about it. And I would like to say something to everyone pissed off at Jeffrey Simmons. And you and I were pissed off at Jeffrey Simmons on the recap show.
He made 2 terrible mistakes. I mean, the first mistake offside, it happens. It's frustrating. Shouldn't happen on 3rd and 5. Free first down. That was a good chance to get off the field. The second one for me, I still have people messaging me saying it was a bad call. I got good friends saying that it was a bad call. I thought it was stupid by Jeffrey Simmons. I don't know.
And what I was trying to say is that while we were both pissed off yesterday about the boneheadedness play, and it was definitely the right call. If you don't think that's the right call, you're being a biased Titans fan, and that's fine. That's the point of being a fan, but just like recognize that you're being biased. But my point in bringing this up is to say, shut up. Jeffrey Simmons was the best player on the Titans defense yesterday, and it wasn't particularly close. He was in the backfield consistently. Like you said, he had 4 times as many pressures as any other Titans defender. He was making plays in the run game. He was awesome. And he made 2 bad plays that ultimately didn't really cost the team that much. You know, the Broncos might convert that first 3rd down. We don't know. They end up only getting a field goal out of that drive. And then the worst penalty, the Titans got the ball back. And yeah, they could have had more than a minute, and that's probably... They didn't
even gain a single yard, I don't think, right? Like it didn't, I agree, it didn't really hurt them, but it was still dumb, and they probably shouldn't have gotten the ball back at all. Or if they did, it should have been through a punt instead of good field position with Sean Payton with the weird 4th down, for it. But I'm with you, but he's got to be better. He's got to be smarter, and I hope he's held accountable for it because it feels like sometimes they have an issue when it comes to holding him accountable.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's got to be smarter. Like, I'm not trying to excuse the boneheadedness. I'm just trying to say appreciate the rest of the game. To stop shitting on him for 2 seconds. I got people saying, get rid of Big Jeff, cut Big Jeff, trade Big Jeff, get him off my team. I'm tired of this guy. He's not a real leader. Like, none of that is true. Okay? None of that is true. And you're not in the locker room. You don't know what kind of leader Jeff is. So shut up. You're wrong. And that's all I have to say on the subject. So I think that does it for this one. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Remember to mash the shit out of that subscribe button. We somehow have to cross 5,000 subs by a week from today. That's not even possible, Justin. Why do we set these goals for ourselves? I don't know. But if you guys come through, we might have a special surprise reward for you. We haven't thought of what it is yet, but we should probably come up with something as a thank you for if you are actually able to get us across the 5,000 subscriber plateau. Thanks again to Sinkers Beverages. Drop a comment below, like the video, mash the subscribe button, send the link to this podcast to all your best friends. Tell them to help you out, by helping us out, help us out by helping you out by watching what you send them. Just share the link, and we appreciate you all so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.